Hi, I'm Al Williams, and this is a demo of the new RFP Altair simulator. I actually started writing this simulator to use the Briel Micro 8800 front panel in a remote mode so that it would drive the front panel, and that's where the RFP comes from, remote front panel. But I've since made it to where you can run it standalone, or you can run it with the front panel hooked up over a serial port. And obviously, I can't show you that very well on a screencast, but I can show you the simulator running all by itself. So let's see the help here, and you can see that you can in fact set the port name and the baud rate if you're going to actually use a front panel. Also, the front panel, if you update it on every cycle while it's running, it makes it very slow, so you can tell it how often you want to do that. You can set the memory size up to 64K. You can tell it to trace all the time. You can load files. And what's really interesting is you can set a console, an error stream, a trace stream, a debugging stream, and a control port. And those streams can be usually telnet ports, but also in the case of things like traces and error and debugging, they can be file output. And if you don't set a console port, it just winds up being the normal console. So let's try that. I'll see if I can do this without a script. I'm going to tell it that I want a simulator running with nothing loaded, and I'll run my control port on 4000. Now you'll notice nothing's happening, and that's because it's actually waiting for me to hook up to that port. Now there's a couple of things here. This control port's really a debugger. So if you do the help on that, you can see that there's all sorts of things. You can set up to 26 breakpoints, and there's a lot of subcommands for that. You can display in hex or octal. You can load a file. You can save a file. You can look at an individual register or change it, or you can look at all the registers, and you can, do general things, run that kind of stuff, step through the program one step at a time. So as of right now, we're sitting at location 0, and nothing's in memory, but I can say something like load, and I just happen to have a 16K basic image with Star Trek loaded. Whoops, let's see, that did not work. This is a live screencast here, working without a net. There we go. So now if I show you, there's some code there, right? And if I do a run, we get a basic OK prompt. And if I do a run there in basic, we can watch Star Trek run. And this is actually live. We can sit there and watch it. Now right now it's running in a pretty tight loop for input, so it's running right around 055A, 055C. If you're a purist, by the way, and you prefer octal, everything will go to octal if you issue the right command, but I'm going to stick with the hex. So I've got 26 breakpoints, and you can do things like set a breakpoint for when some target, like a memory location or a register, actually hits some value, and you can set a mask for that so you can just look at certain bits. Or if certain bits in the target change, when you get a breakpoint, you can make it stop, which is the default. You can make it trace. You can enable or disable that breakpoint or a different breakpoint. You can set counts on the breakpoints. You can set the breakpoints to be a one-shot. And right now we have no breakpoints, but I could say something like breakpoint A set program counter 055A. Okay, and you can see we in fact hit that breakpoint. So I will turn it off. I could have resumed it, and that would have worked just as well. And it's Star Trek, and we could play Star Trek, which is a big time killer. Any event, that's the Altair simulator. It's fairly modular. It's open source. It's on Google Code. There's still a few minor things to be done with it, but by and large, it's functional and works with the very cool Briel front panel hardware, which is also an Altair simulator in its own right. But with a remote mode, this emulator can drive that front panel. Uh, so if you'd like to know more, brielcomputers.com is where the hardware is. This particular piece of software is under altair-RFP and the Google Code open source hosting, project hosting. So again, I'm Al Williams. Hope you enjoyed it.